what the hell's happening? Good, bad, ugly, and most importantly, mediocre people of YouTube. How we doing today? So today is September 11th, 2018. And some of you guys that are familiar with my old channel, the channel that went down, I had a video on there, kind of like a remembering September 11th video. So that channel went down, I can't get it back, and I didn't have a copy, so I thought maybe I'd do a video this year because it falls on a Tuesday. And when I got up this morning, September 11th, 2001 was a day not unlike today. It was absolutely gorgeous out, just like it is today. And I had been working in the demolition business at that point for several years. Had several strip outs under my belt, several total demolitions under my belt, and I was working for the largest demolition company in the city of Detroit, and now they are one of the largest demolition companies in the country. And we had just finished up our summertime season, which we work all year round, but the summer's usually, busy, and then it starts to kind of taper off a little bit toward the end of August or so. So what I was doing at that time is like punch out work, extra work orders. That's, when we kind of slowed down, we'd kind of backtrack, go back to jobs to finish up certain stuff or do extras. On September 11th, 2001, me and two guys were sent downtown the city of Detroit, and this lady had been calling. About 2 weeks previous, we had tore down a building and kind of damaged her. She has a little corner lot, and she uses it as a parking lot, charges people to park, right? So we kind of, whether it was our equipment or the demolition itself, it kind of damaged her parking lot, and we promised her that we would fix it. So she was not waiting, within a day or two, she was calling our office, and, when are you guys going to do this? And so the day before, the Monday before, they said, hey, go to the yard and get what you need and go down and fix this parking lot. So I got to the yard early that day because she wanted to, she told us as long as we were there, before noon, that would be good. Because after noon, then the parking lot started to fill up and she didn't want to miss out on any, income. So I got to the yard early that morning, 5:30 in the morning or so, and started loading up. And nonetheless, time passed, and by about probably 9 o'clock almost, 8:30, Roach Coach driver showed up, food truck. And that lady, she's the one that told me, she said a plane hit the World Trade Center. And the last thing on my mind, or I think on a lot of people's mind, was terrorism. Except for the people in New York. Because they'd been hit before, and they kind of thought terrorism right off the bat, a lot of them, I think. But I remember saying to her, just kind of in a joking way, well, I guess that's a bad place to be. Not thinking a whole lot of it, other than that sucks. And anyway, got my coffee, my sandwich, whatever. And we were getting ready to leave, and then I heard another plane hit. And it was like, what the hell's going on? Is our radars off or something? I mean, I don't know nothing about flying planes, But, immediately I thought accident. And so I get down to the parking lot, and the lady that owned the parking lot, she was pissed off because, you know, people wanted to park, and we were there, and you know, kind of, this lady was really angry, and I'm trying to defuse it, and at the same time, you know, I want to get this parking lot done because it was just a dirt parking lot, you know, and we just had to grade it off, make it level again. And I wanted to get it off the books, you know, because she called every day. So I had to stop by we had another job going on right downtown Detroit at Kennedy Square, it is called, and I had to drop something off there for something. I don't know what it was, but one of my other bosses, when I got there, he told me they hit the Pentagon too, and by this point, you know, now it's like, what the fuck is going on? Well, this parking lot we were working at, unbeknownst to me, was directly across the street from the Federal Building. Now, I've got a big cube van. It's got on the side of it in big letters, you know, the name of the demolition company, and I got a trailer and a Bobcat, and the guys were, you know, smoothing out this parking lot. Next thing I know, a guy walks up to me, and he's an FBI guy, obviously. And he says, hey, he goes, is this you, you know? And I said, yeah. And he said, can you open the back of that truck? I said, sure. So I opened it up for him, and he said, okay. He goes, do me a favor. He goes, leave it open. I said, all right. I mean, everybody was kind of freaked out at this point. So, left it open, and in the meantime, you know, we started seeing, you know, some of the high-rise buildings in downtown, people leaving. The Renaissance Center is right on the river. It's 3 big, tall skyscrapers, and that was being evacuated. And my boss, Richard, had called me, and he said, hey, you know, how's it going down there? And I said, everything's so far, you know, so good. I had a FBI guy come up to me and have me open the back of the truck and leave it open. He's like, all right. He goes, they're talking about evacuating downtown. And I said, all right, and hung up with him, and no sooner I hung up with him, 2 guys with like machine guns walked up, and they said, hey, you guys are gonna have to leave. You know, you're just too close to the Federal Building. You know, it's a demolition company. I said, that's fine. So I called my boss. I said, hey, you know, they're telling us we gotta leave. What do you want me to do? He said, just bring the truck back to the yard, go home, be with your families, you know, whatever. So I was with 2 Arab guys, one of who I'm still good friends with to this day, of Lebanese descent. And I was riding with them. I don't know how we hooked up that morning, but somehow Mace was driving, and his friend, we called him Gino. His name is Ali, but we called him Gino. Somehow or another, they picked me up at home or something. Somehow or another, I do remember I was driving home with them, and they were dropping me off at my house. And boy, there's a pretty boat over here. It's a 1957 Chris Craft barrelback, all mahogany. You guys see that, buddy? That is a beautiful boat. Just gorgeous. A lot of work, man. A lot of work to keep up those boats. Let me make sure we're still recording while I'm fucking around here. And we are. 9 minutes in. So I was with, like I said, I was with Mace and Gino, who are Lebanese. And we were on our way. They were taking me home. And that was the first time I ever heard the name Osama bin Laden. I didn't hear it from the news. I heard it from Mace and Gino. And those guys said, I guarantee Osama bin Laden has something to do with this. I had never fucking heard that name. And I'm like, who the fuck is Osama bin Laden? So they started telling me about this guy. He's Saudi Arabian and blah, blah, blah. And they kind of, you know, fill me in. And they're like, those 2 guys were totally convinced. They're like, I guarantee you Osama bin Laden has something to do with this. And the other thing I'll never forget, you know, we were talking on the way home or whatever, never forget Gino saying to me, but you know what? He goes, you gotta ask yourself, what did the United States do to these people to make them want to do this? And in that moment, I wanted to grab him by his fucking throat and just pummel that motherfucker. And if it were to happen again, I'd probably feel the same way. Of course, later on, you know, and you find out the whole story, and it's not that I'm sympathizing with the terrorists or anything like that. It's just that people in the United States, we didn't see this coming. But people in other countries, they were like, how did you guys not see this coming? You know? Which was strange to me, and it's still strange to me to this day. And I guess it just goes to show, you know, how our media, you know, doesn't necessarily tell us how the rest of the world feels about us. But I know somebody that went to Ecuador right about the same, like a week after, and the people in Ecuador were like, how did you guys not see this coming? And that's kind of like the consensus around the world, you know. It's like we were like the only Americans, we were like, we couldn't believe it, you know. But yeah, Gino said, you gotta ask yourself. I said, I don't have to ask myself shit. And I think that was kind of the end of the conversation between me and Gino, because like I said, at that point in time, in that moment, I wanted to grab him by his throat and beat the living fuck out of him. And Gino's a totally cool guy. He's not fucking, he's totally cool, and he didn't deserve for me to fucking grab him by the throat or anything like that. He's a good dude. And Mace is almost like a brother to me. I mean, he and I have been, I think I got like a couple of years on him where, you know, we met in our late teens, early 20s in the demolition business. You know, I think I was working maybe 2 years before he started. So Mace, I still keep in touch with him to this day, and his brother, and they're good people, man. And but what they did say, what Gino did say after that, he goes, Osama bin Laden needs a fucking missile up his ass. And that's when I started to realize that, you know, the Arabic community, 99%, they fucking hate terrorists and people like Osama bin Laden, ISIS, which is, I don't know why they call it ISIS, and I don't know, I still can't figure out why Obama called it ISIL, but it's IS, it's the Islamic State, but they fucking hate. I have a lot of, you know, in the Detroit area, we have a city called Dearborn, which is 99% Arabic population, probably 80% Lebanese Arabic population. And those people fucking hate terrorists, you know. They love this country, and they can't stand terrorists. So anyway, I don't want to get on a rant in that direction. But yeah, those guys dropped me off at home, and I turned on the TV, of course, and next thing I know, I see one of the towers coming down, and I'm like, I was just, you know, just like everybody else, I was just in shock, you know. And one thing, in the very beginning, I bought into, you know, how they said those buildings collapsed. And one thing I can't get past till this day is how the hell those buildings collapsed the way they did. Now, I've been in the demolition business for many, many years. I've been in many, many different scenarios. And you would be surprised how hard it is to wreck a building. And especially when you do an implosion, like the way those towers came down, there's a lot of work that goes into that. In fact, I mean, it was kind of a sick joke. For a while, you know, all us demo guys, we all said, fuck, all the months on end of work we put into implosions to get them to come down that straight, and all you got to do is fly an airplane into them, come right down. And I'll tell you what, guys, and again, you're watching a video of somebody that's been in the demolition business for many, many years, and a lot of my friends and the people that I associate with in the business still can't comprehend how those buildings came down the way they did and as straight as they did. What probably should have happened is the top would have twisted and snapped off more or less and taken part of the building with it. But it's a miracle that not one, but both of those towers. Now the tower that got kind of hit right in the middle of it, that tower was more likely to come down on top of itself in the theory of the pancaking effect. And that is an effect that we use in implosions and pancaking the building. But there still should have been everything I know about buildings coming down and the way they come down. That site goes against everything I've ever known or witnessed as far as a building coming down. Now, I'm not a fucking conspiracy theorist. And I've read the different conspiracies out there and stuff like that. And I think a lot of them are pretty far-fetched. I don't know what happened. I really don't. You know, one of the theories is that that building was preloaded with explosives. You know, I don't know. That's really far-fetched. But like I said before, you guys got to understand that, you know, two buildings of that size and a crew of, you know, well over 100 guys, it would take us minimum 6 months to prep that building to fall the way it did. But it would look much different than it. You would know. You'd be able to look at the building and see that it was getting ready to be tore down. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So yeah, that still blows my mind till this day. But anyway, you know, it's 2018 and we're still over in Afghanistan. We're still over in Iraq, which in my opinion we should have never been in Iraq to begin with. Not dismissing Saddam Hussein. We all know about Saddam Hussein. We all know that something needed to be done about him. But, and maybe it was up to the United States to do that. But our president, you know, basically lied to everybody. Not just our president, I mean all of his advisors, you know. So it's bullshit, and we're still in Iraq, and we're still in Afghanistan. And I'm sure there's another Osama bin Laden out there. I would think and I would hope that this country is better prepared than it was, you know, prior to September 11th. There's no doubt September 11th, 2001 changed this country completely. It changed almost everything about this country. It changed. I mean, I'm sure there was many experiments, you know, being done during that time because people were living on fear. And fear controls people really well. And it's scary things that were passed at the time that are still in place, like the Patriot Act, which basically allows, you know, the United States government to knock on your door and harass you against our constitutional rights. You know, a lot of things changed, man. But, you know, the things that haven't changed is this boat and this lake. And I'm glad to see that it's a beautiful Tuesday, September 11th. And I'm flying my flag here on the boat. Figured I'd go for a slow ride, give you guys a bit of a video. and fly the flag. So hope everybody is well. To the families of anybody who was directly involved with 9/11, military families, and I mean, there's just too many of you guys to mention. You know, God bless all of you guys, and I hope you're getting by and all that good stuff. And I hope everybody enjoys this September 11th. I'm gonna try to. It's like I say, it's a gorgeous day out on the lake today. Good day to fly the flag and go for a boat ride. Until next time, peace.